Hi, I'm Suzanne Siracuse. Welcome to season 3 of my podcast, focused on the future, keys to building a profitable, sustainable, and impactful business. And I'm excited to be partnering with wealthmanagement.com on this. This series will focus on what firms need to embrace to ensure their growth and success for the future. And you'll hear from industry leaders and advisors on what's working for them. I have a great lineup of guests in store. And today I'm speaking with Julia Carlson. Julia is the founder and CEO of Financial Freedom Wealth Management. Since 2001, Financial Freedom has helped over 1,600 families across the country by providing the education, advice, and guidance they need to pursue their financial goals. I love that. Well, welcome, Julia. Wonderful to see you, and thanks for being my guest today.
Thanks for having me on your show, Suzanne. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Well, I always like to start off these podcasts with the same question, and that's, how did you end up working in the financial planning industry and starting your own firm? Tell us your story.
All right. Well, we have to go way back to, let's see, 19. So 19, I started working at a local bank as a teller. And in the bank branch, they had an investment department where an advisor would visit our branch once a week. And I was like, I followed him along. I was like eager to ask questions. You know, I think before that, my parents had a very healthy money story. And my grandfather taught me about stocks when I was in high school. And so, yes, I know now that was very rare. So I was just really fascinated with personal finance and investing. And so I went to the investment department at the bank, and I said, "Hey, I would really love to be your assistant, help get into the investment management space." And so I remember his assistant got pregnant, went on maternity leave, and I had like a 3-month chance. And I loved it. And then it turns out she decided to stay home with the baby, which gave me an opportunity to stay in that position. And so I did that. I got licensed at 20. And then by 23, I was like, all right, I'm ready to be an advisor. I want to serve clients. And we were in a very small rural town in Oregon, and they said, great, as soon as the advisor retires, you can have that position. That would have been like 10, 15 years later.
Crazy.
Yes. And so there was a client of the bank, a CPA that I got to know. He was a customer, and he knew of an opportunity for a financial advisor that I could come in. It was basically a commission-only job with
Shocking.
An insurance company, right? And so, but I did it. So at 23, I left the bank and started what has now become Financial Freedom Wealth Management Group.
That is a highly unusual story, because most people get into this profession by complete accident or what have you, but it was almost like it was meant to be, right? And I love that you were a bank teller. I wonder like how many listeners remember bank tellers, but I love that. There was so many. I never was one, but I had a lot of friends that did that too. And that you were being taught and coached by your family members to really understand what banking was about. My dad that did that with me as well. So I love that. And then you ended up at the firm did you end up buying that particular advisor out, or how did you become the CEO?
No, I started it all. So I remember I got married at 19 as well, which is unusual. And so at 23, when I decided to start my own business, I remember taking our wedding list and writing a letter that I was starting a business in financial advising. And I sent the list out. I made cold calls. I pounded the pavement. You know, it was like one client at a time building this business. So we have had 0 acquisitions. It's just been grassroots and kind of learning as I go.
Oh my God. That really takes, I would say, a lot of kahunas, right? To do that at 23. Sometimes I think when you're younger, like you're not as risk averse, and maybe like you don't know how crazy that could be and how long it could go. But I mean, obviously it worked out wonderfully for you. And I did not know that you started that at such a young age. What an inspiration. My gosh, we're going to have to really promote that out to some of the younger and aspiring financial advisors that are out there that have said in many articles and just like panels that I've done with them, how much they want to start their own firms. You're a great example of it. That's great, Julia. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, especially in my 20s where I just, it was a lot of no's. And it's interesting because we are in a small community where people have come back now in my 30s and 40s saying, "Do you remember me? We met, when you were first starting out." And it's like, and they do say, "We wish we would have gone with you then," but they needed that's what I had to overcome was my age and inexperience. And we have young advisors, so I can totally relate to their journey in that too.
Oh, it's probably why you attract a lot of next gen talent to your firm. And we're going to talk about that now, actually. So we met a long time ago, at least 10 years ago. And it was when your firm was named one of the Investment News Diversity and Inclusion Firm Award winners. It was like the first time we did that at Investment News. And it was still like, wasn't when, DEI was still becoming a real topic of discussion, and the importance of establishing a culture of inclusion was really just gaining traction, right? It wasn't something that was discussed very often, even just 10 years ago. You were absolutely ahead of your time. So can you talk about how you organically created a firm that embraces inclusion and your advice to firms now on how they need to be thinking about this topic?
Yes. I think it was from my own journey. I was somewhat of a misfit, and I didn't understand that the industry was primarily men until I went to one of my first big conferences, and then I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I didn't even have that perspective because I was just having my head down in my world. But over time, it's like so we've attracted people that are different than the norm. I think number one because like we want that different perspective. Like I have clients that are very diverse, and also our best hires have come from being clients, which is interesting. And so actually my president now, Jason, he and his wife became clients, I think back in 2010. And I just saw this like, oh, he's asking really good questions. He understands like the investment landscape, the financial planning. I'm like, have you ever thought about being an advisor? And it was like 3 years later that I was growing so rapidly that we needed another advisor, and went back to him and said, hey, I'll help you. We'll train you. And now he's the president of our firm. And like so much is possible because of that opportunity that I extended him. But then in return for that, what he's allowed me to do and me to be in my lane and he to do what he's doing great at, it's like, oh, the magic of coming together from such diverse backgrounds.
I don't think I've ever heard somebody talk about the fact that they hired one of their clients as an advisor that kind of saw that in them. I mean, that's really, really interesting. And now he's the president of your firm. How great is that?
Yeah, it's really special. And I remember, DJ, he's the director of investments. He was an intern that came to us, and we didn't have a big intern program. It's like it was a friend that said, "Hey, this person's looking for an intern. Yeah, we'll try it out." And he's been with us now. I think it's almost 10 years, and does all of our investments, and just a great person. And so again, I think you just have to be open to not looking just for experience, because experience is going to get you more of the same. Where if you're opening up to finding people through different avenues, it's like you're going to get that diverse culture, which makes things so rich.
And I think too, just being authentic about it, like you just genuinely were curious and wanted to say like, sure, like I'll help this person. And then did you provide training to both of them as they came on without really any financial planning experience?
No, my so it's interesting because my training, and I have found this in like visionary and founders, is they're like, just, watch what I do, or like, learn as I go here. So there wasn't like a formal training background then. Actually, it was those two that created our training program. And then we've hired someone since that really built out our program. And so new people, come on with a very specific schedule for their first 90 days, first year, and then really develop a career track for where they want to go. So like for me, I would say that was a weakness of mine, where they had that as a strength. And so that was, again, part of the magic of our culture.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and then did you like intentionally work on making sure that your firm embraced inclusivity, or did it just naturally happen that way? Because I do think whoever is sitting in that leadership role, things trickle down from them, and it either, authentically happens or it authentically doesn't happen. But were there any mechanisms that you put in place, or even just being vocal about it, that allowed your firm to really be one that always had, an inclusive mindset?
Yeah. I think in the beginning it was more by accident, but then over time it's been very like we developed core values of, treat all people with respect, embrace our team culture, delight our clients. And also we have team principles, which is be concerned for inclusion. Alignment is a big thing, and which means every person that works for us has a seat at the table. Because what we found is the newer people, they have a different perspective in that first 90 days. And there is so much wisdom in that, because I think as you're in your business, it's like when you're in the jar, it's hard to read the label, right? And so there's so much richness that can come from new people, new voices at the table. And so we teach that in our culture, that everyone has a voice. Everyone can raise their hand and say, I see a cliff, I see a red flag. We need to focus on this. And we don't move forward on decisions until there's that alignment around the company. And so I think what may have started out by accident, it has turned into who we are as a company. And I think that just naturally attracts people that want that voice, that may be different, but hey, I have a voice here. And so it's been very intentional, these last good probably 5-10 years.
Yeah. And, I think there's hope for firms that are listening, that may say, I don't know where to start, or how do I do this? And just know that like even your firm, that's been, recognized as one of the best around inclusive cultures, is, didn't start with a plan all laid out. Sometimes it just needs to happen, and then you need to have the people around to help you build it. And, Julie and I were talking before we went live about some new research that was just released from Amplified Planning on what are the motivations, what do the aspiring financial advisors look for in employers, and that core values is one of the top ones. Right? They want a firm that has the values that match what their values are. That's become way more important than maybe when any of us first entered our careers and our professions. So again, another head of your time moment, Julia. So I'm always fascinated with the various ways that firms are attracting the next generation of investors. And many times the people who need the advice the most aren't getting it because of investment minimum barriers, right? But you've created a program to address this called Inspired Wealth. Can you tell us about that? How's it working? And what are the various benefits around it?
Sure. And I'll share a little bit the backstory to how this came about, because, we were growing so rapidly, and priding ourselves on not having minimums. And I remember several coaches telling me, you're going to have to change. You can't just keep bringing on clients that with low accounts. And I'm like, it was like our war cry. I want to help these people. Like, those are the people that made me successful. And so, we were at this inflection point where the answer from the team was, we just have to hire more people. But looking at our numbers, I'm like, we can't keep doing this because it jeopardizes the company and the profitability. And so there has to be a win-win in this. And so I really took some time to understand what's the cost of the business, what's the cost to serve our clients. And we actually came up with a cost per household. And with that, I added a 30% profit margin, said, okay, so this is probably what we need to make on a household to be profitable, to be a good steward of this company moving forward. And we created then, how do we match a program then that helps those people more than just being there and having their investments with us? And so out of that was born Inspired Wealth, which is the way I think about it is maybe a minimum revenue for the firm versus a minimum asset level. But inside that Inspired Wealth, we actually help the family or the individual really with what is their priority. So they may not want a big financial plan. They may want to get out of debt and start a retirement account, or, figure out how to put money aside for a new home, or do estate planning. So whatever is their priority, we will walk through them. So it includes 4 coaching sessions a year, focusing on what their priority is for their financial house. And so we meet them where they're at. We are accountability. It's more accountability than planning per se. Sometimes it is really heavy planning, but more times than not, it's just like, hey, what's the goal, and how do I keep you accountable to that goal? And so within that, then we can open investments and serve them. And that's not only helped us like deepen relationships with clients, but also help them really make progress towards their financial goals. And then the other thing that did is it was a forcing function for my team to say, hey, if they're serious about getting help, then they'll be in this program. And if they're not willing to be in the program, then maybe going to a discount brokerage or a Vanguard or something like that would be more appropriate for them. And so it allowed us to say, hey, if you want us to serve you, here it is. And if not, maybe something else is better for you. So it's been super valuable. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and also too, you're not only doing something where you're really helping people, right? That's the number one reason that new aspiring financial planners want to become a financial planner. Number one reason to help people. So by having a program like that, you're also attracting the next generation of talent, because they're seeing that you're providing an option for those that may not be able to come through the usual channels. And you're also meeting them where they are. And I would imagine, do you have some of those individuals that then become traditional financial planning clients?
Yeah. So a good example is someone was retiring about a year and a half ago. They started Inspired Wealth. We helped them kind of onboard into retirement and the decisions they needed to make just through the quarterly coaching calls. And then when it came time to retire, they rolled over, so they became a wealth management client. They rolled over their assets. And then it was interesting because they said, well, can we still meet with you quarterly? And I said, well, in our wealth management package, you get, it's like 1 or 2 meetings a year. So if you want the financial coaching, then that's something that you would pay in addition to that. And they actually chose to do that because they had goals they still wanted to meet and wanted that more frequent contact.
Oh my gosh, I love that. It's also showing that you can charge for financial planning, right? It's
Yes.
not like an added value to the investment management side. What a smart idea. I also love that you backed into designing the program by figuring out how it could work from you from a revenue standpoint. I think a lot of times business owners, financial advisors, entrepreneurs have an idea and they go with the idea first and then figure out how they can make money on it. And you actually went through the back door, which was the really a great way to figure that out. I love that. Um,
Yes.
I love that you did that program. And I think, there's a lot of learnings from advisors that may be listening to this of, taking a page out of your book to say, how could I do something like this in my own practice to help those that really do need the help, but they just maybe don't fit our traditional financial planning client demographic. So I love that, Julia. So again, touching on a very popular topic that around how firms are growing, right? Without M&A and buying other firms, without the market assisting, but real organic growth. And that's one way, right? You just showed that you get them in early. And then maybe they become a rollover client. Maybe they become, successful where they can, where they're now making enough money or they've saved enough where they can become a financial planning client. But tell us a little bit about how you attract new financial planning clients other than the Inspired Wealth way. What's really been working for you and your team?
Yeah, so I would say two different avenues. One is, delighting our clients really well, which fosters a lot of referrals. So one thing we've done is we've taken our clients. I mean, they pay for it, but we go on a cruise with our clients and we have like fun and fellowship. And we did that. We're planning the next one for next summer. So it's like it's been fun. It's been very enjoyable. And then on the other note of that, I'm very creative. I love to be out on social media, and I was invited to be a part of a reality TV show this past year. It's not out yet, but it's coming.
Wow, you're kidding. What do you do? You're not, it's not Survivor, is it?
Not Survivor. No. So it's called Writer's Island, and they took 15 either business owners or leaders to a private island in the Caribbean, where each of us was writing a book in 5 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it was quite the experience.
Did you finish the book?
I am done with the book now, but I had the whole concept of the book done on the island, and I got the name of the book on the island. And then I've spent the last couple of months fine tuning and editing and getting it all prepared. And the hope is it'll launch in February.
That is wonderful. Congratulations. So what's the hook of the book?
Yeah. So the title is called Let's Get You Fired. And it is specifically for entrepreneurs that we serve. And we want to develop a deeper niche in helping entrepreneurs. And the concept between firing yourself is something I had to do early on in my career because I couldn't do it all. I had to bring other people along on the journey. But what I have found is a lot of entrepreneurs, as they're growing and scaling their business, have a really hard time letting go of control and trusting others and delegating. And so the book is really for that entrepreneur that wants to grow and scale their company, but they need to figure out how do they get out of the way of that essentially, and how do they fire themselves. And so yeah, I'm really excited about it. And we're developing a whole new program specifically for entrepreneurs that want to grow and scale profitably, build a value-based or, a values-based business, yes, but also a valuable business that they can sell and exit one day. And there's a big piece of this too that's about generosity. So my vision is that I want to help 1,000 entrepreneurs build 8-figure businesses and give $1 million away to their favorite nonprofit in the process of that. So,
oh my gosh, what a wonderful legacy to leave too as an entrepreneur, and for you, and just like the connection if you're trying to attract serving entrepreneurs, really positioning yourself, because most independent financial advisors are entrepreneurs, right?
yes,
But maybe
yeah.
aren't declaring themselves that. And you're very much so declaring yourself this, being on, I mean, my God, what an amazing opportunity. How did you get, like, how did they pick you? Did you have to audition, or I'm just curious how that all worked?
No, so it's through the publisher of my first book, which is called Money Loves You. We had worked together on that book, and she was doing the show, and she's like, I want you to be a part of this. Can you write another book? And so I was like, oh, I didn't know that curveball was coming. But it's interesting because my first book was like my passion around personal finance and the mindset of money and developing this healthy relationship with money. But I know that this book and what I'm doing now for entrepreneurs, like that's my life purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, is helping entrepreneurs like grow and scale companies and do good in the world. And that's like fires me up, and that's all I want to be doing.
Yes, I that's so great. So, what an interesting approach to growing your business within a very, very niche segment, and really carving yourself out as an expert by writing a book, right? So your referrals are great. You do a lot of it sounds like really fun client events and engagement. The piece of being, really focused on a particular client segment and then obviously you're on social, you're doing a lot of media appearances. So from that marketing perspective, those are three great ways to that advisors that are listening should be considering what they can put into practice in their own firms around growing organically. I love that. Well, I can't wait till your new book comes out. What is it called?
It's called Let's Get You Fired.
That's right. Oh my God. I love that. Yeah. And I think most people can identify with, I know I certainly can. I was like, I wish I had that book 25 years ago. But on letting go, when you either are the founder or you're the CEO and you're acting as, really the leader of an organization. And sometimes you think nobody can do it as good as you, right? And they can. Here's the end, right? They can if you find the right people. I love that. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So shifting to an assist on what can help a firm owner and the advisors within it grow. Let's talk about the role of technology and how that plays a role in growing your firm and also improving the client experience, which is so critical anymore. So what tech tools are you using, and what are you really excited about? And are you using any AI assisted tools right now? So love to kind of get your perspective on that.
Sure. Yeah. So the most recent tool we adopted was Jump AI. So this is the transcription, or it really uses AI to go into meetings. And I think more than that, we created our own templates for Jump AI. And so it pulls from the meetings what we're looking for in the formats for, we use Salesforce. So it has first taken way better notes than any of my advisors or me could ever take. And then I think what's really cool is it will actually mine your Salesforce and prep your meetings to say, hey, ask them about their surgery, ask them about their granddaughter, Ella. Like, it's super specific, where before that was taking my team's time. And so I think that is a big game changer for us as well. And then two, we use Microsoft. So the Copilot in helping us like write emails, and just, what used to take me an hour to write a really thoughtful, in-depth email can now take me, 10, 15 minutes, where the AI does it. And then I go back through and check everything. And So I've become a way better writer
Yeah.
these days.
Yes, I think a lot of people have too. And I know I was just at a AI conference, and Jump was there, and just some of the stuff that they're doing. We were talking a lot about that, client experience, advisor experience, where the note taking is in the meeting, like it's helping you prep during and then post, right? But I think one of the added benefits to that is that, when you were used to be, because I use AI note takers as well, like frantically taking notes while you're on a call with somebody, but you miss something that they're saying because you're too busy writing down what they just said. And I think that that is a huge benefit now for financial advisors, because you're really not missing things. I know I still go back through some of the recordings or the transcription, and I'm like, I like write down the things that I think that I remember, and then I go back through, and there's usually 2 or 3 things that I may have missed if it wasn't for that. So it's just allowing you to serve clients better, I would imagine too.
Absolutely. And also for training, like every Thursday, we get together with our advisors for sales training, and you can look at like the tempo of how much did the advisor talk versus the client talk. And you can see what the conversations are. So there's just like this huge learning that you can take away from it, that we didn't have before. And so it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that training piece is critical, right? Because I know the tool that I use, it shows like the engagement level, right? So like, were people engaged? Were people smiling? What was the mood? And you can watch it back and be like, oh, I should have said this, or like from a training perspective. I think that's really another, great value of some of these new tools that are coming out there. So, and I would think like, so who does that on your team? Who vets all of these things? Or, I know you're you're one of the advisors with LPL, but like, do you just do what, do you have to listen to what they're saying? These are the approved ones, or do you have someone that's delegated on your team to kind of looking what's out there?
Yeah. So it has to be approved by our broker dealer. And then we have someone that's basically our technology champion that helps us then integrate. So I actually volunteered to start with Jump because I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And then we added another advisor, and then rolling it out to everyone, because you do have to revamp your processes and making sure that, people get really tied to handwriting notes. And if they don't have that right in front of them, like, okay, what's the process then for them to feel comfortable moving forward? So it's very much change management within the bigger team to embrace the technology, because you have to use it to its fullest to make a difference in the efficiency.
Yeah, 100%. And I always say, like, it's great if a tree falls in the woods, who's adopting it, right? So what is your strategy within your firm for making sure that your firm is adopting it? And I would say the person that's running the firm, embracing it first, is a good way to do that, right? Like then you can say, I'm not just telling other people what to do. I'm actually doing it myself, and also that empathy of understanding it is change management. It is kind of hard to do. But then it gets harder before it gets easier. That's the way that I always look at technology. Like, okay, this is going to stink first, but then it's going to be like wonderful for my life,
Yes, absolutely.
That's great. That's great. Well, this has been such an amazing podcast. I've really enjoyed speaking with you. And now I have my last question that I ask everyone. And that's what the title and the theme of the podcast, Focused on the Future, Keys to Building a Profitable, Sustainable, and Impactful Business in Mind. What is your last line, Julia? What key takeaway do you want to leave our audience with?
Great question. I love that. I would say do it your way. And what I mean by that is, I've looked at, there's so many benchmarking reports, there's so many, suggestions of how you do business. But I think the cool thing about, especially if you're an independent financial advisor, is you get to decide what works for you and also your role in the company. So for me, it's like, I wanted to be the entrepreneur, the visionary. And so how did I fire myself from all the other roles to do exactly what brought me joy and contentment? And I realized others just want to be in front of their clients and then bring someone else to be that champion of running and building and growing the business. And so there's no right way. It's just do it your way.
I love it. I love it. I feel like I need to compile all of these last lines into some kind of book or whatever, because everybody has such a good one. I love that one. That could be on a t-shirt. So do it your way. I love that as a last line. Thank you so much for being my guest today, Julia, and for sharing your thoughts on creating an inclusive firm culture, growing your business organically, and the role that technology plays in the client experience. I'm Suzanne Siracuse. Thanks for listening. And I hope this episode leaves you feeling even more excited to be focused on the future.